my dad was over here the other day, and he's like, oh, I can't wait to give Mrs. C a bath. It'll be so much fun. And I'm like, yeah, that'll be fun. Cool. Free bath. And then today, he texts me and says, give Mrs. C a bath before you come over tomorrow. So now it's a fucking mandate.
But he was going to give her the bath.
That's what he said. But that was like his passive way of going, your dog stinks.
Oh.
And now it's like the day before. And look, it's a hard enough time for me to shower in the Kurt camper. Hold heads. So now I got to figure out how to do it with the pup. But I suppose it's for the best.
You can shower together?
No, there's no fucking room for both of us in there. No way.
I'm Lester Holt.
Howdy, old heads. Kurt Money here, alongside my co-host,
Kateline.
And we are here to discuss... We're doing it from the vault, but not by choice, because they did back-to-back repeats this week, but they did not send them to the cock.
Nope.
So, we had to find our own, which is no problem for us. Alright, here's the IMDb real quick. When Brigitte Yuto, a San Diego woman who is near death, arrives at an emergency room, the FBI and local law enforcement are called in to try and solve a medical mystery and a horrific crime.
Here's Natalie Morales with The Prussian Blue Mystery.
Hosted by Natalie Morales. This is where we'll begin, but first things first. Kate, what'd you think of this episode?
Well, there wasn't a murder.
Boy, they wanted you to think there was for 24 minutes, though.
They did. But I was still really into this one.
Really?
Because I just wanted to know where the poison was coming from. Obviously, I knew from the jump who was poisoning this person, but
yeah.
I wanted to know the details, so I was kind of hooked. And I knew that because this was a shorty, it wouldn't take long for me to find out.
Okay, I need your opinion on record of what you reacted to when Natalie Morales showed up. Have you ever seen her host a Dateline before?
If I have, I don't remember it. I have to say, watching this and hearing a different voiceover, hearing Natalie's voiceover, it felt like I was watching a show that it wasn't Dateline or maybe like a 2020 or just a show that was doing their best Dateline impression.
You just hit the nail on the head. And I realized that when they did an on-the-fly interview with the nurse in the black scrubs. I was like, everything about setting this shot up and her talking and this angle, this is a news segment. Like, this is not the Dateline magic. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's like people thinking they're Dateline, but they're not. And it's like, you are Dateline. You are.
That being said, I'm not mad at her.
I was kind of mad at her. I'm not now, currently. Like, when I'm watching it, I am kind of mad. It's not her fault, okay? But I don't know.
Oh, that pesky Prussian blue. That's if Keith was doing the voiceover.
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine the stuff he'd be saying about, like, Renaissance painters and stuff?
And oh, the deadly web we weave. And first we practice to deceive.
Oh, he'd have crushed this. Oh, that's a great point. I gotta be honest. I've watched this probably 5 times now, and only on the 5th time did I stay awake the whole episode.
Wow.
I passed the F out 4 times in a row. And believe it or not, it's the interesting stuff at the end when they dump all this info on you about, like, nuclear war and government stockpiling. I'm like, you should have led with some of this.
This is the kind of stuff that was used by Russian KGB agents.
Yeah, but it's a shorty, so it doesn't take long to get to that information.
That's true.
You just were, like, not staying awake.
Yeah. You know, I thought this was a fatty, so I looked for it, because I remember watching this or hearing about this case and being excited about it. And then I watched this and I was like, why was I so excited? And then I remembered, and I'll save it till we get there. But this started as a shorty, so this is a shorty through and through. Did it feel like it was missing stuff? Or you thought it was, like, good stuff, start to fin?
I don't feel like it was missing anything. There wasn't much else I think they could have covered. I wasn't missing an interview with someone.
Right.
Or there wasn't any information that I kind of wanted to hear more about.
Yeah. That might have to do with how quickly the killer folded.
Yes. Yes. Immediately. Maybe the shortest fold time in the history of Dateline?
I think maybe. Our story begins in San Diego, March 2018. A 20-year-old woman, Brigitte Yuto, is feeling super sick, like hella sick. Her fingertips hurt. She's like, she can't see water in front of her. It's hard for her to walk outside.
She was critically ill. She was very ill.
So she is rushed to the hospital. What's going on with Brigitte?
Well, she was feeling sick like this on and off for months. And she would go to the doctor a lot. And the doctor would kind of just come up with all sorts of different reasons of what could be causing her to feel this way. And she went to the ER more than once also.
Oh, yeah.
And then the last time when she was feeling really bad, her mother drove her to the ER. The ER then told her to go see her primary care doctor. She did. Her primary care doctor took one look at her and immediately called an ambulance and sent her to a different hospital.
Yeah.
And finally, at that hospital, that's where she started to get some real care. But this was several months.
Yeah, because up till that point, she's hearing things like, it might just be the menses. Like, you could just be on your period real bad right now. Did you ever think about that, Brigida? As her hair's falling out and she can't see.
Insane.
Right? It's either cancer, thyroids, or your period.
There was one doctor that actually told her, oh, you just have really bad menstrual cramps.
Yeah. The amount of times that doctors tell women that is...
Yeah, I bet.
And look, I get it. Maybe the majority of cases do end up being related to menses. I don't know. But when you're suffering and you know that it's not period related and that's what they hit you with, it has to be so dehumanizing.
Yeah, and like, she is so sick, she can't like talk or think. Mm-mm. Like, they have a Latin word for it, where the patient is in so much pain, they're like the end soon. I'll just hang this out.
Mm-hmm. Doctors have a term for patients in this apathetic state. La belle indifférence.
So the fact that a doctor with a straight face could go, hey, stick it out, okay? You'll be back to normal on Monday. Like, that's pretty wild. But luckily...
You just need to relax.
Yeah, relax. Luckily, at the emergency room, they had a toxicology expert. I wrote it down. Dr. LaPointe was there.
Dr. LaPointe has board certification in medical toxicology.
And now he's wanting to know because this lady's like knocking on death's door.
Yeah, she walks in and he makes a note that she is by far the sickest person in their ER.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the sickest patients they've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And she's hospitalized immediately. And he's just starting to run all the tests to see what could be the problem. And I have to say, I like this guy.
LaPointe?
Yeah. I thought he had a weird mouth, and you know I like weird mouths.
You sure do. Was his your kind of mouth?
No.
The specific one that I can't grasp. Okay.
No.
But it was just another weird level that you were like, hello.
Yeah, and I liked his attitude.
Yep. Yeah, because they were really painting him as a detective.
As a medical toxicologist, I'm a little bit more in the detective.
And right now is when I drop a little knowledge on you. Forensic files used to be called medical detectives. And you're thinking, why are you bringing up FF, Kurt? I'll tell you why. This is why I was stoked. Because he walked in and said, okay, she's losing her hair and her feet hurt. And he says, this has got to be thallium.
But to Dr. LaPointe, one particular symptom stood out. Sudden hair loss.
That's the telltale sign. It's like straight out of the books.
Now this is a side effect and a poison I know well. Because he might be a poisons expert, I'm an FF expert. And half the episodes are about poisons that go wrong. Well, I guess go right. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I heard thallium and I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. So that's definitely why I was stoked about this.
She placed the thallium in her husband's iced tea about a dozen times.
Hey, did you like the, what was up with those shots? This is not a B-roll you busted. I got one, but this one's not it. When they would talk about things on the periodic table, they had like a light box thing. What are those called? Their presentations of the box was like physical stuff inside of a glass box with like fake stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
No. I have no idea what you're talking
okay.
about. I don't know that was I not looking at the screen at this exact moment? I have no memory of this.
Well, you're not laser focused on a B-roll you busted.
No. And
that's what I was up to. So I'm in there, my sights are on going. Okay, so now that he knows what it is. Oh, here's the other thing. This is what's this. Okay.
Well, he doesn't know what it is yet.
He thinks it's right. He doesn't know what it is. He thinks it's thallium. Now, I can't believe that this is where we're still at medically because of all the advancements we've had. But here is one more that's got to come up in the future is that doctors, they don't know what you have unless they know what to test for.
Right.
So and that's not just like all drugs. You got to say like weed, LSD. You got to say the thing you're looking for. So like, unless they think of thallium, they cannot test for it. Doesn't that seem crazy?
It does seem crazy that we don't have the ability to just take a vial of blood, put it in a machine, and have it test for literally everything that's ever been tested for.
Yeah.
But different tests require different amounts of blood.
Mm-hmm.
It's very complicated and expensive, and because of our terrible state of health insurance in this country, he was saying he had to be, in order to get a test for thallium done, he was on the phone with insurance companies and labs for hours just trying to get approval and to find somebody who would rush this test because it's a super rare test to run and there's several day turnaround. And this woman she may be dead within the day.
Yeah.
And he guesses it's going to take 3 or 4 days to get results back on top of getting approval to even send the blood out. So it's a rush against time.
Right.
Days that he knew Brigida might not have.
Thallium is a common ingredient in like rat poison. Like when we've seen rat poison in movies. I love rat poison for fiction. It's a great little story device because everybody's got it underneath their kitchen counter. Like for instance in the 1981 classic Bloody Birthday.
Curtis, he poisoned the... The poison was just sitting on the counter. I was putting it away.
About killer kids, one of which is named Curtis, but it's with a C.
Curtis doesn't even seem to know the things he's doing are wrong. It's like he has no feelings. That's Curtis for sure.
That's not possible anymore. Not that I've tried, but that's what I hear. But this shit's been banned since the 70s, I think.
And it was really, really good as a rodenticide. And so that was outlawed in the 1970s.
But they said back in the late 1800s, you'd give it to your kids who have lice. Just to get that hair out of there.
If you had lice or something, you wanted a child to lose their hair, they would give them thallium.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
What? Imagine going through this just because they don't want to shave your head, right?
Well, look, before the invention of modern medicine and penicillin, everything just seems so barbaric.
Yeah.
When people say they want to time travel, I'm like, nah.
No, you don't.
No, because if I were to time travel to before the invention of modern medicine, I would be dead within 30 minutes of arrival. I would get some kind of disease, or I would get like cut and it would get infected and they'd be telling me to put like leeches on it or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'd die. No thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no interest in time traveling before like 1960s. Like I'd want to be around... if I could time travel to when certain movies came out, I'd be there in a heartbeat. I have no interest to go back to Roman times because, like you said, if it's not disease, I mean, something else is going to kill you straight away. And nobody's going to worry about it. One, because you don't exist because you're a time traveler. But two, murder's happening all the time back then.
Mm-hmm. And they also didn't wash. Although, sounds like you don't either.
Kateline with the burn.
So in the meantime... while he's waiting for the thallium test to come back, he's like, I gotta have an antidote ready immediately because that takes time to get. And just in anticipation of the results coming back positive. But he was nervous because they're not going to give you an antidote unless you have the positive test results. But there wasn't enough time.
Carol, we don't have that kind of time.
Right.
So he's calling in favors and doing what he can to get an anecdote before the results come in. And this is where we learn about what the anecdote is.
Yeah, I mean, he knows the name of it straight away because it's the only way to fix thallium poisoning. And that is Prussian blue.
So the antidote is called Prussian blue.
You've probably seen Prussian blue in paint. Yes, paint.
This is interesting. And I love that straight away they're like, makes you think of paint, and that's what it is. And they had an example of what the blue was.
You can see it here in Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night Over the Road.
What'd you think about that?
I did not know that something in old-timey paint would actually be good. Because you hear about how there are so many toxic paints in history, like reds and violets, that had actual poison or radiation in them. But to hear that the ingredients in Prussian blue are actually beneficial, I was surprised. I thought, when I saw the title of this episode and I saw the promo for it, I thought she was being poisoned by paint.
Yeah. That's true. It is crazy to think about it. And it's not like they need paint and then they dump the paint in their mouth. They need it in pill form. Future Kurt here. I had to pop in to give a little bit more info on these thallium FFs because I watched 2 of them, okay? And in both of them, they state that there is no cure, no antidote for thallium.
Unfortunately, there is no known antidote for thallium poisoning.
And it happens in those episodes where it's kind of like the doctor's like, dude's gonna die, nothing we could do about it. So that means that they must have discovered that Prussian blue was the antidote after those episodes. So sometime in the early 2000s. But I can't find that info online. What the hell? It's like they're trying to keep it all top secret because it's like, could be used to kill people, I guess. Anyway, what's wild though is the first one I watched is a thallium case that we are 1,000% doing for the next iLH episode on the Patreon. Okay? Absolutely, we're doing it next. So, if you want to hear you want to hear me talk about more FF and more thallium, but not about Prussian blue, join that Patreon, hold heads. P.S. The whole app Kateline is saying anecdote instead of antidote. That's why you're hearing that buzzer. Just having a little fun at Kateline's expense. Back to the show. So now he's got to get his hands on Prussian blue, which does exist, but it's unbelievably hard to find. And who's the gatekeeper of Prussian blue right now? Who do you have to talk to get some of it, Kate?
The FBI.
The fucking FBI!
Because...
The FBI, they get dinged the second he Googles it. Pretty much, right?
So the FBI, they're the gatekeepers because the government has these Russian blue pills stockpiled, but it's for in the event of a disaster like a dirty bomb going off or a nuclear attack.
Oh, specifically a nuclear bomb, right? I mean, it's not just a disaster, it's radiation.
A nuclear disaster is what I meant.
Yeah.
But any kind of, if it's a bomb, if it's a Chernobyl situation, they have these stockpiled in a secret location that they then reveal is actually Los Angeles.
Do you think that was really it? They showed a big expansive room with stockpiles.
Because the doctor said we were able to secure the antidote. I called all around locally in San Diego, all sorts of labs and places, and we were able to secure some 2 miles up in Los Angeles.
No.
So that made me think there's a stockpile somewhere in LA. And we talked to the FBI guy who was in charge of signing off on it and distributing it. And he's saying how, it's under wraps because there's so little of it and it's needed in case of something really bad.
Yeah. And this FBI guy was kind of a dweeb.
He was.
Right.
John Gill is a special agent with the FBI in San Diego.
We have several tripwires set up and we're notified immediately of the Prussian order.
He's not as cool as Dr. LaPointe, medical detective, okay? But he was nice and game and he was talking, okay, so they got to get the permission. FBI's like, we got to come because the president's going to be near you soon, so what are you up to? Like they said that it set off a lot of red flags and stuff.
You triggered all kinds of alarm bells.
I triggered all kinds of alarm bells, yes.
So they prove that they've got a dying lady on their hands. We need that Prussian blue. And so they start giving it to her doses. And still at this point, she's so sick. They're just like, I hope it works in time.
Right.
Right?
And the tests do come back. She is positive for thallium, and a lot of it. It's all in her intestinal tract, which shows that she was ingesting this with food. Someone was feeding her the thallium. Exactly. And the Prussian blue, it's going to take a while to kick in, but she starts to get a little better, and that's where they can start investigating and asking questions.
Yeah, a big hurdle for her was when she could see the brand of the TV. I loved that. That was really cool.
I was really excited because I could see the TV, like what brand the TV was, across the room.
Sony.
They showed us Sony, but she didn't say Sony.
I don't think a hospital would have Sony. Certainly not a Kaiser hospital.
Woo! You're right. That would not be a Sony television. You're so right.
It would be like
barely a Vizio. It wouldn't even be a Vizio. It would be one below that.
Vizio's owned by Sony.
Crazy.
Maybe you should get a flat screen TV. Don't skimp and get the Vizio. Get what you deserve. Get the Sony.
So now that they're testing, and now that they know this is like straight up poisoning and somebody wants her dead, they're like, well, who could it be? And they had already had her husband and her 1-year-old son at another hospital just for safety's sake, because what if they also have thallium poisoning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're thinking, who could it be?
Who could be behind this?
So run down our suspects, Kate.
The husband, end of list.
Yeah.
Because
the guy we haven't talked about yet.
Totally.
His name.
We're mostly seeing interviews with her parents and her sister, and we find out they all live in the house right next door. They all kind of live on the same property. So there's 2 homes that all kind of share this parking lot.
Brigida lived in the country in a house right next to her parents.
And they are in the San Diego area, but they're out in the sticks a little bit. They talk about country living. And it's wild to me, this all happened while everybody is living together on this property. And her mother made a good point of saying if they hadn't been living right next to us, if they had lived somewhere further away and isolated, she definitely would have died.
Yeah, I agree. And Kate, I mean, I guess if it meant I owned a house, I suppose I'd party with it. But it would not be ideal to live next door to your parents. What do you think?
Unclear if they even owned it. The parents probably owned it.
I'm saying if I was living for free, I'd suck it up for a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, but the doctors at the hospital weren't taking any chances, and they wouldn't allow visitors from anybody in the family. Yeah. Even the sister, who they knew was not poisoning her. The mother, just nobody. Nobody was allowed to visit her until they could narrow things down. And this is where it got crazy.
And that's super smart because so many FFs, the person visits them in the hospital. It's like, here, I made your special milkshake.
Mm-hmm. I brought you McDonald's.
She poured a massive amount of thallium into his soda and gave it to him as he lay dying.
Yeah, and that's how they get more in. So that's a good move. Mm-hmm. That's a good move. All right, so we're looking at the husband. Now, I already kind of roasted it, but his name is Race.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with this name, dude?
Oh, I've met people named Race.
Shut up! Really?
Uh-huh, yeah.
I've never heard this in my life!
Oh, I've heard it, yeah.
Okay, well, now I know one, and he's probably a murderer.
Brigida met a young man named Race Udo, a runner like she was.
We talk about this guy, and what's his background? Like, what's their vibe? They fall madly in love.
They met in high school.
They got big hopes and dreams.
They went to different schools, but they met, fell in love, I guess, and got married really young. She was definitely smarter than him. He was determined to go to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, which is really hard to get into. And what was the deal? He didn't at first, and then finally he was able to get in, but he left, like, really quickly.
He got in, but then he had a hernia that didn't heal, so he couldn't graduate. But he still then joined the Navy. What is the point of the academy?
Well,
if you can drop out and still join the Navy.
Because when you graduate from the academy, you're not enlisted, you're an officer. So you're higher ranking automatically. And
oh, straight away, you skip the grunt stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he did have to be a grunt then, if he joined the Navy and didn't pass the academy.
He did.
He did. This is what Annapolis is about, that James Franco movie, I feel. What do you think?
I haven't seen it.
James Franco, Tyrese Gibson, Jordana Brewster, Annapolis.
You ain't good enough.
I'm not quitting.
Probably the plot point was not that he had a hernia that didn't heal, because that's a funny thing to take you out. Mm-hmm. I suppose. But he was in the Navy. He was looking for other work. And so they're like, all right, it might be this Race guy. Let's see. What do we know about him? And they talk to the nurses, and they're like, well, the first day in here, he wasn't as sad as we would think. And he was also asking the wrong questions. You know, questions like, is she dead yet?
Mm-hmm.
But he's asking weird questions. And also, tell us what else is suspicious about Race.
Well, we find out that one of his main hobbies is poisons.
What? How is this called a hobby?
And it's making poisons from things found in nature.
Yeah.
So berries and seeds and wheat and stuff.
Yeah.
They find this out before they even get a search warrant. So this is kind of what helps them get the search warrant. They're like, oh, he's known to have poisons around the house.
Yeah, and the FBI guy that's investigating the case, old Race went up to him and said, hey, dude, I want to work for you guys in the poison department. It's not related to what's up with my wife right now.
Mm-hmm.
I promise.
So dumb.
And he specifically mentioned he wanted to work for the FBI in the poisons department.
Kind of like what you do.
That's very ironic. Yeah.
And then they're the people who ended up taking him down.
Yeah, and they found out that he had a book, like the Poisoner's Handbook, and then there was like a PDF of it too. And I was waiting for the one poison term that we would all know if we watched Breaking Bad, which I assume we both did, Kate.
You're talking about ricin.
Did you watch Breaking Bad? Don't skirt the issue. Did you watch it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good.
We're just gonna grow a magic beanstalk, huh? Climb it and escape?
We are going to process them into ricin.
Ricin beans.
But yeah, ricin. I was so stoked when they showed ricin. I was like, that's the Walter White one.
I think it's easy to make, relatively, because this guy's an idiot, and he made it.
Race had tried to grind up castor beans to make the poison ricin.
You're right. Like, he had castor beans, and like if you smush them enough of them, it makes ricin or something.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of his collection. Now, the one thing missing from his collection, and this is probably thought would save him in court, is he had not collected thallium yet, right? So he's looking okay.
Yeah. They couldn't find any thallium, but they did find stuff hidden in the wheel well of his car.
And then within the hole for the spare tire, we find a canister of acetone, packets of exotic seeds.
Oh, here's what's nuts. Race definitely doesn't want to live next to his in-laws because his dumbass took a trash bag, walked it to the dumpster that they share with the parents. Now, the parents, the mom and the sister are looking out the window going, what's going on here? So they go out there and get the trash after he drops it off. There's a bunch of, like, poison shit in there.
Mm-hmm. And they give it right to the feds.
She's a great junior agent. She actually went dumpster diving.
What an idiot, dude. You're too lazy. You can't drive to a Walmart and dump it there? This is a pretty stupid move. Okay, so he's looking good for it. He's looking real good for it. And the cops are like, okay, we don't have a warrant for it, but is it cool if we take a look at your phone and your computer? And Race is so down. He's like, guys, have at it. One thing, I did delete everything on it last night. Again, not related, but everything's been deleted, but go ahead.
By the way, I'd recently erased all the search history of all my electronic devices.
So that's pretty suspicious.
It is.
Okay.
But they don't have enough to arrest him yet.
No. They do a little bit more research on Race. Turns out he's not so good of a husband. Because not only does he have a side piece, he's got pieces. He's got 2 girlfriends on the side. One of which his son has hung around so much that he called her mom. Whoa, that's...
And that woman thinks that Brigitta's dead already.
Yeah, you're right. He did one of those. And he had another girlfriend that wasn't being called mom by his son, but she was well aware that he wanted his wife to get hit by a bus and die. That's what he said.
He specifically told that girlfriend that he wanted his wife to get hit by a bus and for her to die so he can get sole custody.
Okay, so this guy's trouble, okay? And so, like, we got to get him down here.
Trouble.
When you see her coming, she's always trouble.
The cops are like, well, let's get him down for a polygraph. Who knows how this will go? Maybe he'll lawyer up, maybe he won't. So they get Race down there. And what's he say to a polygraph, Kate?
Sure. All good.
Strap me up right now.
And they strap him up, and they say at the beginning of it, he is cool, calm, and collected and thinks he's about to fly through this.
Yeah.
But then they ask him, I think 9 times if he poisoned his wife.
Yeah.
And he says no, but at the end of it, they tell him that he failed. And he didn't just fail. What did he fail?
He failed miserably, Kate. Miserably. Now, look, that's a list item of mine, and we heard it. They didn't say it in the talking head. We heard it from the interrogation footage. But you're right. I'm glad you caught it, because I was laughing my ass off when he said that. I was like, of course, dude. Of course.
Because you either pass it or you fail miserably. There's no in between.
Yep.
So, you failed your test. Not only did you fail the test, you failed miserably.
Okay, so now they bring him back in, and he's still cool. He thinks he's passed this sucker. And they go, Race, bad news. He actually failed it. And again, what's Race's response? Does he lawyer up? What happens?
No, he, after like maybe 90 seconds, he says, yeah, I did it. It was me.
I did it.
He didn't need to take the polygraph. He didn't need to be in there without a lawyer. They didn't have the poison.
Yeah.
He could have gotten away with this.
Yeah, you're right.
But he just went, yeah, it was me. Oh, I fed her this sandwich. Another day, I fed it to her in this soup that I made her. He went into all the detail.
Over 6 months. And he got specific. He was like, I gave it to her accounting to her weight, so I gave her 1 milligram to start off with, and then I upped it. So this is like 6 months. And right when he started feeding her this is when she started to get sick. It's not like she was sick for a week and went in. She had been in and out of the hospital since the day he started. This is not only premeditation, I want another level of punishment here. What do you think? Because he's going to the hospital and picking her up and going, come back home, baby.
It's torture, is what it is.
6 months.
He eventually upped the dosage to 5 grams, which is what really put her near death.
Yeah.
And he willingly just tells them all of this.
The last time, he upped it up to 5 grams. He thought that was going to do it.
Yeah, and it's like I wanted to give him a little credit for that, but I can't because it spent 6 months being okay with it.
And then, okay, he walks in to the room to do the polygraph, and we get a good look at this guy. And I'm like, how does this dude have 3 women in his life?
Yeah. He could have used a bro.
Yeah, he's disgusting.
A bra is for ladies. Meet the bro.
I'm with you.
I mean, I don't know that he's Arthur Knight level bad.
Oh, boom. That we're going to hear it. Andrea!
Bloated and grotesque.
Yep. He's not quite there yet.
Andrea!
So he pleads guilty, and he gets like 21 to life for being a dumb poisoner, and he's locked away. We didn't get to hear from him, but this is a good introduction to today's segment, B-roll. You busted. Because after they arrested him, they go, we arrested him on site. We see him cuffing him up. Then they cut to the mugshot. Mugshot, he's got a full head of hair that's combed. His head was shaved in that interrogation. There's at least 8 months in between that arrest and that mugshot? Where's the day of mugshot, Dateline?
Interesting.
What do you think?
So was that second shot taken at his arraignment or his sentencing?
I'm sure it was, but I refuse to believe they don't have one for the day they arrested him. I refuse to believe it, right?
No, they have to.
Yeah, that's part of getting in there. So that's definitely, sorry Dateline, B-roll, you busted. And now it's on to, I think it's list time. Are we forgetting anything, Kate?
Kate's unnamed list. All right, it is San Diego, but technically it's a small country town outside of San Diego.
You're giving it to him.
However, her dad actually said, yeah, it's a small town, but crime happens just like it would anywhere. So he didn't...
What kind of crime?
Oh, his truck got stolen.
Rattlesnakes.
Rattlesnake.
Over the years, we've had, a rattlesnake here or there.
So they don't see it as the kind of town where things like this just don't happen. So I'm not counting it, but it was close.
Sorry, guys.
But we do have that military connection.
Big time.
Yes. Classic.
Big time.
This is a guy who couldn't cut it and
that
just all around sucks.
Race made it to the Naval Academy like he wanted, but he suffered a hernia that never healed properly.
Yeah. And this is a classic setup for a dumb husband that's going to do murder. Like you said, didn't cut it. Like the fact that he so desperately wanted to be in the military and couldn't hang. It's like, dude, this is the red flag area right here.
Yep.
Okay, you got anything else?
I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, would they have looked for a needle in a haystack with this? Maybe not. Was there any more potentials? I don't know. But you have two things. So that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Florida, or I'm sorry, small town.
Maybe.
And military. Oh, no, you didn't give it to him.
No.
Kate, I'm all over the map today. I apologize.
That's okay.
Okay?
Just cut it out.
Now it's on to Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
Kick-Ass List. Kick-Ass List.
I've got one, and the way that it came up is kind of funny, because they were describing, the mom was trying to describe how her daughter looked when she was trying to walk. And she was like, like the Walking Dead. And then Natalie Morales says, oh, zombies?
The Walking Dead.
Like a zombie.
Like a zombie.
So TV mention, I love it. I love that. I love any time a show is universally known so much that it's shorthand like that. It reminds me of a different time, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right?
I get what you're saying.
So that was cool. And I feel like, well, and then the sister said zombies later.
She did. She described herself as a zombie. And I was kind of like, okay, well, your sister's the actual one near death, but...
Oh yeah, I was like a zombie, a walking zombie.
There have been times in the past where Dateline will pull the rug, and I'll lose my mind. Like when they introduced Lisa, right? That one time when we were talking about a lady, and then all of a sudden, there she is.
There she is.
Woo!
Lisa told us what the detectives told her.
That's the Dateline shit I love. Because that had me floored, really. I gasped. I was like, I can't believe they got her. But Lisa's there giving us the scoop.
This one, I was sniffed out in the cold open. And they tried to play it like, well, let's talk to her now. And it didn't work for me.
She'd consumed more than enough thallium to kill her. And yet...
I don't know why I'm here.
Meet Brigida. She's still with us.
My arms are crossed. What do you think?
I was hoping we'd get to talk to her, and I was really nervous she was going to have some lasting effects from the poisoning, some brain damage or something, because she was really, really f***ed up. But she is healthy. She's running again and staying fit.
With the host.
She and Natalie went for a little jog. Natalie was trying to ask her a bunch of questions, and she's like, yeah, I'm running. Can we not?
Yeah, I don't know about you, Kate. I'm not having a convo while I'm running.
No.
That uses energy that I already don't want to use. So no thank you to that.
No.
And then that thing you said about the poison, lasting effects, that does happen. And there's, I think it's Deborah Green, but there's an FF in a book I read, where the wife burned the house with the kids inside, but on top of that, she was poisoning him. And now she got caught and stuff, but that dude's long dead because guess what? He got cancer from her poisoning. Like, they caught it in time to save his life, but he was never the same.
Well, I wonder if she'll have lasting effects.
Oh.
Like...
Oh, because it just happened? Well...
If in 10 years she'll have some kind of... Something happens because of the poison.
Yeah. Yeah. Poison's pretty evil, huh?
Yes.
One dumbass said, well, we had to consider if it was suicide.
We also had to explore the fact that sometimes in these cases, a person may try to poison themselves if they're struggling with depression or crying out for attention.
Keep walking.
Yeah.
Nobody's giving themselves thallium.
No.
Nobody's drinking their own antifreeze.
Nope. Keep walking,
All right.
Joker.
Yeah. Keep walking. Future Kurt here, alongside my future co-host,
Future Kate.
Finally, we are in the same room together, and it is because we have earth-shattering news. I think we got our proof of life. We had 2 Holtheads reach out to us and say, check out who's on True Crime Weekly and who is on True Crime Weekly. Kateline.
MURPHDOG.
MURPHDOG! Woo! We already had the episode in the can, and we said, emergency, future meeting. Our boy is alive and well.
We're so relieved.
Oh, I am so relieved that he's okay. He's still in there. He's still in the main 4. And right when okay, full disclosure, I haven't listened to the whole episode yet because we had to get this on mic. When I started it, the first thing he said was he thanked Keith for releasing his endorphins. And I'm like, MURPHDOG's back, baby. MURPHDOG's back.
What a weird thing to say.
Hey, Dennis.
Hey, Keith, how are you?
I'm good. It's nice to see your face.
Nice to see you. It makes my day. It releases the endorphins.
Oh my God. Okay, so, Kate, how you feeling about this? Do you think we have a MURPHDOG episode around the corner?
I sure hope so.
Also, how do you feel about current Kate saying anecdote instead of antidote? I mean, it's fun stuff, huh?
I mean, yeah, I'm an idiot.
No, you're not an idiot. Dum-dum status goes to current Kate. You're up here with me on Right Mountain. We're super smart. We're future Kurt and Kate. We never get anything wrong, okay?
You're right. That's her problem, not mine.
Exactly. All right, so before we kick it back to the episode, I pointed out to Kate that he has a guitar in the background at his pad, which also feels very MURPHDOG. And now, Kate, I ask you this one question. Name one song that MURPHDOG knows on the guitar. What's a classic song you would know?
Freebird.
Okay, that's good. I'm going to go with No Woman, No Cry by Bob Marley.
Oh.
I feel like he crushes that.
Sure.
You know it's some classic, some overheard classic, right? He's like, don't worry, I got this. He plays something real cheeseball.
A lot of Beatles.
You know he knows how to play Blackbird. Or he's learning how to play Blackbird, I feel. He's learning. He hasn't got it yet because you got to do some finger picking.
I want to hear him sing.
Me too. Okay, so this is our hope for the new year. MURPHDOG ep, where he plays his guitar and sings directly to us. That'll be a happy new year, Holtheads. So on that note, we go back to the main ep.
Bye.
All right, well, I would encourage the Holtheads to go check out iLH on Patreon, where we're talking about cool stuff that's close to Dateline, but not it. And we got a Christmas episode up on one of our favorite X-Files episodes. It's a lot of fun. It just dropped today, which means nothing for this. And on that note, I'm Kurt Money.
I'm Kateline.
I'm Lester Holt. For all of us, I'm Lester Holt. Good night.
Did you watch Breaking Bad? Don't skirt the issue. Did you watch?
Yeah, of course.